morning, everyone. Welcome to today's session. We're about to get into another session to explore the drone operations in a whole new altitude. I'm Shruti, your pilot for the next half an hour, and I promise you a smooth flight into this insightful session. Today's session is very special. We are going to explore our two new products of Flightbase Pro and Flightbase AIR. Let me build some suspense. Before we dive in, I have a few housekeeping rules for you. If you have any questions, drop it in our question and answer box, and we'll tackle them at the end of the session. This session is recorded, so if you miss anything, you can always revisit it later. Join the conversation on social. Use hashtag Nestin on LinkedIn and Twitter to share insights and tag our speakers. Also, a huge thanks to our Nestin 25 sponsors, the one who are leading the way and the industry forward. Now, let's dive right in. I'm thrilled to introduce our speaker for the day, Kaushal Kulkarni. Kaushal is the Business Development Manager at Flightbase and is here to launch the Flightbase Pro and Flightbase AIR with all of you. Whether you're managing a handful of drones or an entire fleet, Flightbase Pro gives you the total control and reliability you need, so you can say goodbye to manual hassles and head up to streamlined one-to-one, one-to-many drone operations. And not to forget how the Flightbase AIR or Air Intelligence for Robots is actually upgrading. Oh, I'm sorry, AI upgrading the drone operations. But to know more about this, let's get to Kaushal. Kaushal, welcome. The stage is yours.
Thank you for the warm welcome, Shruti. Pleasure being here. Pleasure talking to everyone. What a ride NextGen has been this year. It's been amazing to see so many people tuning in to watch all the exciting sessions that we have. And I'm really excited about this session because today we're going to dive deep into, how 2024 shaped up, what the dock industry looked like, what is in store for 2025. There's a lot of buzz around AI, a lot of buzz around the future of automation. And I think, factoring all of that in, Flightbase has come up with two new products. That's Flightbase Pro and Flightbase AIR. So would love to, take a quick recap of 2024 and then talk about what we have in store for 2025. So with that, I'll just share my screen and we can jump right into it. One note that I'll make, as in when I keep speaking, I have a tendency to, over explain and just keep talking. So please feel free to drop in your questions at any point, and Shruti, you can interrupt me at any time so that we can pause at a particular slide, maybe explain a couple of concepts more in depth, especially around Flightbase Pro and Flightbase AIR. Right. So with that, what is today's session about? It's titled Introducing the Future of Aerial Autonomy. Now, before we talk about the future, let's dive into how 2024 looked like. With the DJI Dock 1 that released in 2023, there was a lot of adoption of, early adopters adopting the dock for remote operations. Things were a little murky around regulations. Things were picking up slowly, but 2024 was a game changer. We have so many drone solution providers, enterprises that have deployed docks for their particular use cases. So we are seeing dock adoption across different geographies for different use cases. And that's been amazing to see because a lot of the folks that we're talking with on a daily have been iterating over the process. And in 2024, we learned a lot. We faced a lot of challenges as a team and we learned a lot. And when I say we, it's not just Flightbase, it's the entire ecosystem. That's Flightbase, the drone solution provider, and the end user. So all of us, we learned a lot. And I will share a little bit about the challenges that we've identified as patterns and how our products are helping solve that in 2025. But what else? What's happening around us, right? What's 2025 all about? I have to tell you, it's been an amazing year. There has been so much that's happening. OpenAI, Perplexity, DeepSeek, Gemini. Every day you wake up, there's something new or innovative happening in the space of AI. And what all the pundits are talking about is how AI, which is currently in the digital realm, is going to trickle down into the physical realm. So what I mean about that is how AI is going to power automation, not from a software standpoint, but also from, in the industry of drones, robotics, and more. Right? Before we jump into the challenges and the entire session, we let's do a quick recap. What I'm sharing via this slide is the wave theory. We very strongly believe that the adoption of docs for large customers happens in waves. So, just very quickly explaining, there are four waves when it comes to doc adoption. So, that's wave 0, 1, 2, and wave 3. Wave 0 is the proof of concept stage. So, here customers are working with a drone solution provider to get a demo. They have not installed a dock or made a purchase, but they're still trying out the dock. So they're trying out all the features, getting their hands uh, around the product, learning how to fly, getting used to how the dock behaves and how to set it up, for example. Wave one is when they finally make the first purchase decision. So they buy one or two docks. Again, they're running a pilot program. They have not fully committed to docks. They want to explore different use cases. They want to explore different points of integration in this stage, and this typically lasts between 1 and 5 months. Now, this is a very crucial stage because in this part, customers need a lot of handholding, and more than that, there in this stage you start scoping out what the future will look like for your doc program internally. Uh, During this phase, a lot of customers talk about IT security or data security challenges, IT compliances. They talk about different points of integration, and they also talk about specific features that they would want. Once wave one is successful, say we've cleared IT security checks, we have cleared or we have discovered the point of integrations, that's when customers decide to move to typically 2 to 6 dock range of deployment, and that's wave two. Here, customers now start talking about BVLOS compliance. They start talking about integrating those enterprise integrations that they had scoped out in the first place. And in some cases, the IT security compliance happens in parallel. So wave two is also, very heavy when it comes to customers filling out those data security questionnaires with their IT teams. And this takes a long time. So this takes 6 to 12 months. So within a year, so 2024, a lot of customers have moved from wave 0 to wave 2. And now a lot of customers are talking about wave 3, which is multi-site deployments. Here you have to talk, here customers start talking about advanced team collaboration, site management. They talk about complex data orchestration. Today, what we're going to focus on is how some of the product lines in the Flightbase's Arsenal, Flightbase Pro and Flightbase AIR is are enabling conversations in wave 0, 1, and 2. Before we get into the actual product and what entails, let's talk about some of the challenges that we have identified throughout this journey of most of the customers that we have worked with. So first, as I mentioned, is data security and IT compliance. Purchase docs cannot be scaled until and unless you get a green flag from your IT team. That's the hard truth. The nuance here is docs are different from drones. Docs integrate into your IT network. Unlike drones, which are standalone, you have an RC, you have a pilot, you can pull it out of your van, start flying, remove the SD card, transfer all the data onto your computer, and then have a very manual workflow. Whereas docs, they're fully integrated into your network. So there is a lot of checks that you need to pass when it comes to actually deploying these on site. Second is, as I mentioned, in wave one, a lot of customers start talking about points of integration. And currently in the software ecosystem, docs are treated as a data collection tool, but not a lot of people are talking about how we can transfer that data into a third-party application, or how we can trigger the drone via external alarms and sensors. So a lot of customers are out of wit as to how they can integrate these systems, and it becomes very important because in wave one and wave two, customers are generating ROI calculations. So they're making a calculation on how effective their entire investments have been, their upfront investments have been, And that's where having integrations allows them to target multiple use cases. I'll dive into that in the next slides. And but because of that, they're able to justify the ROI of the entire operation to their management. The third is around cumbersome mission planning around assets. In 2024, a lot of inspection companies, oil and gas companies, large enterprises dived into docked operations, and they were jumping in from a drone, primarily a drone based workflow. And that's where the flexibility of planning missions via drones was lacking in dock based operations. So I'll touch upon how we are solving that at Flightbase. And the fourth is lack of intelligence. So these docks, as I mentioned, are primarily being used to collect data. But how do you make sense of that data in real time? How do you use your preferred analytical platforms in the downstream to make sense of the data that you're collecting? So those are the four challenges. I'll double click on each one of them in the next slides. Very quickly, the first challenge, as I mentioned, is the data security and IT compliance issue that most customers are facing. In that, there are four trends. The first is production scaling is being blocked because you're not getting customers are not getting the green light from their management. There are there are complex internal approvals. So there are a lot of checks, a lot of questionnaires, a lot of architecture reviews that customers or teams need to perform to get that green light. And every customer is different, every organization is different. So navigating that becomes difficult. Third is data access restrictions. So this is all the data that you're collecting, who has access to the data, who's authorized to use the data, um, right? And how do you protect that data is the third item. And the fourth is, as a result of 1, 2, 3, wave 1 and wave 2 deployments are being delayed. One of the easiest ways or the first checks that a lot of IT teams are looking for are certification and compliance reports. Flightbase has ISO 27001, SOC 2 Type 2, and GDPR. For the wave 0 to wave 1 deployment, these certifications for our cloud-based deployments are, a sigh of relief for most enterprises. When we give their IT teams these documents, um, the conversation shifts around, all right, now let's review these documents, and that entire process builds a lot of confidence in the software platform. It builds the enterprise maturity that Flightbase has. But when we talk about wave 2 and wave 3, there are a few more aspects that IT teams are looking for. And they're looking for they're asking questions around firewall protection. So when we integrating the hardware, is there a firewall that blocks all foreign comms of the dock? They talk about secure allow list. So what are the IPs that we need to allow on our firewall? What are the fully qualified domain names that Flightbase has and owns? Do we need to really communicate with multiple IPs, or is it just a set list of IPs that we need to communicate with? The third is real-time traffic monitoring. So can we a lot of ID teams have discovered, and teams at Flightbase as well, that the dock, particularly the DJI dock, is a very chattery system. It likes to talk to a lot of endpoints, which are not required for its actual operations. So when teams discover that, they want to understand where the dock is trying to communicate. And with the secured allow list, are those endpoints owned by Flightbase, are those even required for operations with our dock? And then the fourth item is blocking those comms in an automated manner, allowing only a set of IP. So let me demonstrate how we are solving that at Flightbase. We introduced the Flightbase Shield earlier last year. In the Shield, what we do is when you connect an AIR device, you're able to visualize all the endpoints that the dock tries to communicate with. And based on the allowed domains, only a specific allowed domains are permissible for the dock to communicate with. All the other events are blocked. So here you can apologize. I apologize for that. Here you can see, as you can see here, you can see that there are 44,000 events that have been blocked by the firewall. And you can visualize where all these endpoints lie with the region and the exact IP address as well. So here you can see in China, there are these specific endpoints that the doc wants to communicate with. And with the flight-based AIR, you're able to block these points of communication with the doc and allow only a set list of domains, as you can see, with flight-based, which are owned by flight-based. So here you can see with the help of flight-based shield, we are able to provide firewall protection. We are able to secure only a specific list of domains. IT teams are able to visualize the traffic, and the unwanted traffic is being blocked automatically. This is a big sigh of relief for a lot of IT teams. The conversation completely shifts. When you empower the user with real time data, they feel much more confident about the maturity of the platform and the maturity of operations at where, the level at which Flightbase is operating. So the Flightbase Shield helps solve for the first challenge. The second challenge, as I mentioned, is a lot of customers discover points of integration throughout the process. And then when it comes to integrating the data collected upstream with their downstream systems, most platforms don't allow for these integrations. Flightbase in 2024 released Flinks, and I'm happy to announce that Flightbase Pro, the variant that we've recently released, integrates with third-party applications with the help of Flinks. So Flinks stands for flight-based links. With Pro, you get three type of Flinks. First is the alarm Flink. You can integrate with any alarm source, such as an intruder alarm or a CCTV camera, for example. And upon an external trigger, you can automate a drone response to the location from which the sensors triggering or calling Flightbase. So imagine if there's a location A, which is an intruder alarm, and an intruder tries to jump over a fence, for example. The sensor goes off. The exact geo coordinates of that sensor are passed on to Flightbase, and Flightbase then triggers your drone to the location of the alarm. So that's alarm Flinks, really helpful in site security, industrial security. Video streaming Flink is where you can export the video feed into a video management system like Genetech or Milestone. So you can empower your security ops team on an industrial site, for example, with real-time data, video stream from the drone. And data processing Flink is for mapping use cases, construction monitoring use cases. We signed over 30 Flink partners last year. Some of these names are very familiar, and they all, in one way or another, fall into the three buckets that I mentioned in the previous slide. So we have partnered with Pix4D, Drone Deploy, D-Drone, Milestone, Genetech, you name it. So there are all of these different applications target specific use cases. So with the help of Flinks, you're able to use the same doc for multiple use cases. This again ties back to the justification of the return on investment for the upfront investment in a doc. I'll play some quick videos to give you a gist of how some of these Flinks work. This is a Genetech integration with Flightbase. So we can export the video feed from the drone and dock into your Genetech video management system. So your security folks have real-time eyes in the sky when there is a scheduled patrol, for example, or if there is a emergency response. Similarly, the data processing side, we have an integration with Pix4D. So you can plan a mission on Flightbase. Here the drone's flying, doing a grid mission, as you can see, collecting all of the data. And once the data is collected, you can export the data using the Flightbase media export function. And once the export is available, you can then share it with an application such as Drone Deploy or Pix4D. So you can share it to a Flink, and you can share it to Pix4D. And once you trigger this event, Pix4D collects all of the data, creates a map, and then gives you an output. So here on the right hand side of the flight based console, you can see the toggle for Pix 4D, and you can jump into the model. Here you see that with the mission that we flew, we are able to very quickly generate a detailed model on Pix 4D. So overall, the second challenge, just the recap, was how do we integrate uh, enterprise applications. Flings opens up, with the help of Flightbase Pro, Flings opens up multiple use cases that help justify the ROI for a customer. Jumping on to the third point is, as I mentioned, around asset inspection. So planning missions, um, not just in 2D or 3D, but how do we improve the experience? That was the problem statement that we were faced with. With 2D based mission planning, you don't have elevation data. Challenging. With 3D, you have elevation data, but you don't have real time visuals on, or changing visuals of, say, heavy machinery on site, uh, electrical poles, substations, etc. So it then becomes a challenge to plan missions. The way manual operators did it is they would fly the drone in real time with a visual line of sight, record those waypoints on the DJI Pilot app, and then save that mission. So recording your mission in with a visual line of sight operation. So with Flightbase Pro, we've introduced a 5D mission planner where you can remotely fly the drone and record each waypoint. When you record a waypoint on Flightbase, so you can record multiple waypoints and then save that mission. When you're recording a waypoint, you're capturing the drone's location, you're capturing the drone's altitude, and the PTZ setting, so pitch, tilt, zoom. So those are the 5 dimensions which you can record with one click, and your pilots are actually flying, so they're very confident of where the drone is and how the visual on the video feed looks like. So these 5 dimensions help for a better mission planning experience. The fourth item and the fourth challenge is what brings us into 2025. I personally am really excited for this. We recently launched Flightbase AIR, but the precursor to that were the challenges that customers were facing. So the fourth challenge is lack of intelligence in live data analysis, right? Docs are collecting data, but how do we make sense of that data? That's the entire problem. Even if we are collecting the data and exporting it into some sort of an AI model and getting analytics post facto, that's not very powerful because we are not making decisions in real time. So in emergency response, public safety, industrial security, you want to make decisions in real time. And that's where we came up with Flightbase AIR. AIR stands for Aerial Intelligence for Robotics. With AIR, we have jumped into the realm of artificial intelligence. And this is not just detection of objects per se, but it is an entire roadmap of how we are implementing, a long-term strategy of inculcating different AI practices into docked operations. So currently, what we have is we have real-time analytics on the platform where the drone in real time does object detection. So currently we have 2 classes, those are vehicles and humans. So Flightbase is able to in real time do detection of vehicles and humans. You can also count objects in real time, as you can see, and this operation is being done from quite a lot of height, so the angle of attack is very steep. And the detection, you can see even on a busy screen like this, is quite accurate. With detection, we are also recording the video feed in case the operator is not on the screen, and we are also alerting the operator on intrusion, for example, or on detection. So the entire workflow allows for an automated experience using artificial intelligence. And we've shipped over 50 plus units across the globe. We launched AIR in January this year, uh, and the response has been overwhelmingly nice. A lot of people tend to ask, then how are you doing this, right? Is this happening on cloud? Are cloud based models for AI detection really that accurate? Are they reliable? The answer is yes and no. So we are not doing it on cloud. We are doing it with the help of an edge device. So flight-based AIR is an edge compute device which connects directly to your dock. The edge device has an NVIDIA GPU. It has an Intel CPU. It has local storage, so you can locally store your media files on AIR. We have 1 TB of storage out of the box. You can expand it using SSD slots. We have four RJ45 Ethernet ports on the dock, which can help you connect external devices in the future. So with AIR, you're future proofing your dock operations. Given that we are providing you a lot of compute on the edge. So all the models that we have today are probably utilizing 20 to 25% of the compute that the AIR device has. In the future, we will add more models. Our partners are building models in parallel, so they'll bring their own models onto flight-based AIR, and we'll also have, we have a long roadmap of a lot of items that are yet to come. And the AIR device, which is deployed on the edge close to the dock, allows us to do that from a compute standpoint. So that's where AIR as a device or the strategy that we are taking future proofs dock operations for a lot of customers. Moving on, with AIR, we are also launching Bring Your Own Model program or a BYOM program. So our partners, they are developing custom AI models. They can add that to the AIR device, and that way we are bringing in a lot of customer partners are able to build differentiation with the help of AIR. We also have a system integrator program that allows partners to integrate security fences, cameras, and build a unique solution with the help of AIR. With that, we also released Pro this year. With Flight-based Pro, all the previous challenges we mentioned are being addressed. So we have the enterprise-grade data security. We have enterprise integrations with the help of Flings that I mentioned. We have real-time AI given once you integrate with an AIR device, and we have 5D mission planning for asset inspections and inspection-based workflows or mission planning in general. The price point of Pro is what really excites me. So we want to reduce the barrier to entry completely. We're moving away from a per drone or a per dock a pricing model to a per organization model. So we are charging $1,000 per year or $999 per year, independent of the number of docks. So you can add 1 to 10 to 20, 30, as many docks as you want to the same SKU. You pay as you fly. So the more you fly, the more you pay. We get you onto a pay as you go model. Excuse me, with Flight-based Pro, you get 5,000 video viewer minutes upfront, and then you get 2,000 minutes every month. With Flight-based Pro, customers can start small, they can scale at their own pace, and they can expand when they're ready. So expansion means moving on to Flight-based Enterprise or moving on to a pre-bundled pay upfront model with Flight-based Pro as well. So Flight-based Pro offers that flexibility, a pay-as-you-go pricing model. So that helps companies, as we like to say, they get set and pro. So they become professionals in their field by starting small. So that was my time. Just 1 minute over. Happy to take any questions that there may be. So Shruti, do you see any questions?
Yeah. We do have few questions. So the first question is from Alexander. He asked, what OS does it run off? Custom Linux, distro, or what?
I am assuming that the question is around flight-based AIR. So we are running on Linux. Our entire the framework is on Linux. So that's the OS that we use. With Flight-based AIR, it's a plug-and-play device. So with the Flight-based Pro or Enterprise or any subscription of Flight-based, you can just plug in your dock, connect to the internet, and the device will be visible on your Flight-based console.
Nice. We have two more questions from Alexander. The first one is the docking station emitting a Wi-Fi signal for the drone to connect to?
Okay, so the way the drone and the dock communicate is on an RF protocol. That's the primary link. A backup link can also be where you, depending on the geography that you're in, DJI provides a 4G dongle which you can connect with the drone directly, and in that case, you are communicating with the drone over a 4G protocol. So that's the second C2 link that you can use for your drone based, sorry, for your dock operations.
Nice. So this is a fun question. What is your opinion on having a privately hosted AI model for drones? Oh, yes.
I see there's more versus, yeah.
Yes. Sorry. What is your opinion on having a privately hosted AI model for drones versus using a cloud hosted slash publicly hosted AI model?
That's a great question, Alexander, and I think I covered that with the AIR deployment strategy we have. We believe that deploying AI close to the dock on the edge is a better. So a privately hosted AI model is much more reliable than hosting on cloud. Given that most customers are deploying docks in areas with low connectivity, low bandwidth, they're using Starlink. They don't have very stable internet connectivity. Relying on cloud-based AI models becomes tricky. Number one. Um, and number two, it just adds a lot more latency. So deploying closer to the edge, we are streaming the video directly to the AIR device, and detection overlays are being imposed on the edge. So that's just a much more reliable mode of operation. And also with a privately hosted model, there is a lot you can scale. That can also happen with cloud, just countering myself. But in general, I think that's my opinion.
Nice. We should address just one more question and then we set it off. So, does this hardware work with NVIDIA Isaacson or Isaac ROS? In that case, is it possible to work with ROS 2 with DDS middleware?
Oh, that's a great question. And let me just read that out. Right. So I would love to pass this question on to our product team, and I would love to get back to you on this. I personally haven't built the product myself, so I'm not sure if I can answer this to the best of my knowledge. Yeah, so we'll get back to you. Unfortunately, it's anonymous. If it had a name to it, I would just DM them right after.
Um, I think that pretty much works. We are already running off time, so we should quickly close this. Thanks, Kaushal, for this exciting session. We had addressed all the four. Oh, Jim Fabian. It was Jim Fabian who had asked the question about Rosto. We'll be getting back to you, Jim. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your question, Jim.
Yeah, we're just running out of time, so we'll be getting back to you soon. Thanks, Gosh, once again for this amazing session. For those who missed out, do not worry. We have a recording that's coming up, so you can watch it as well. So that's the closing. Anything you want to say as a closing?
No, thank you so much. Thank you for the questions as well. And if you need anything, or if you have any questions around flight-based AIR, flight-based Pro, or in general, if you need any kind of help, feel free to reach out to me. I've just pasted my email address in the chat. So yeah, you can just drop an email and happy to help.
Sure, that's us. So thank you so much for being a part. Happy morning and bye bye.
Goodbye. Thank you so much. Thank you.